Good day and welcome to the dining room table. We are talking about New York State Governor Hochul's press briefing on the migrant crisis. Since 2022, over 100,000 asylum seekers have come to New York. New York City had a, a homeless problem before this migrant crisis. People were living in homeless shelters for years. Uh, Children, families, single people, and it was a problem. So now with the migrant crisis, you have no room for housing, and there is no place for uh, to give them a bed or give them permanent housing because it already was a problem. And I understand the asylum seekers. You know, a daughter of immigrants. In fact, many of the asylum seekers were coming from Venezuela, where my father's from, and I've been to. And you see why people leave there to come here for a better life. And I also understand the fairness of how you come in. But I want you to pay attention to this press conference that the governor is about to give, whether you are a Democrat or a Republican. I am neither. Because if you live in New York State, if you work in New York State, if you do business in New York State, New York State is like the New York City is like the headquarters for the world. You want to see what's going on here. So we're going to pay attention to the press conference, and we have the executive orders. We have a couple other press conferences. So make sure that you subscribe, like, and share. Let's hear what's going on. The governor right now is the pilot on the plane that we are on. We need to know what's her plan with all the asylum seekers here, the children, the schools that are about to open, the healthcare, the housing. What's the plan?
Asylum seekers have arrived in our state, requiring an historic humanitarian response. Moments ago, I issued a letter to the Biden administration formally requesting that it take executive action to address New York's migrant crisis. I'll detail those actions in a moment, but first, let's talk about how we got here. It all started at our nation's southern border when Governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, made the despicable decision to load migrants onto buses and ship them out to score cheap political points, treating these individuals as pawns. Since that time, the state has deployed enormous resources toward New York City's valiant efforts to shelter and support these nearly 100,000 migrants who have already arrived here. The reality is, we've managed thus far without substantive support from Washington. And despite the fact that this is a national, indeed an inherently federal issue. But New York?
So the Biden administration has not given them any help. And that's what they're saying. Where's the help? We need the help, financial help. And she's going to explain regarding work authorizations.
Has shouldered this burden for far too long. Since the first migrants began arriving at the Port Authority bus terminal last year, city and state have poured tremendous funds, billions of dollars, and energy into helping them. The city has been helping by the state to manage this in partnership with our state legislature. And in our budget, we allocated over $1 billion, now upwards of $1.5 billion, for providing shelter, National Guard, public health, transit, case management, and legal services to asylum seekers, especially the housing.
Now, I want to point out that, people in the community are saying that that's a lot of money, and these are services that the people in the community already needed. There were people who already needed Metro cards to go to job interviews. That people needed, a lot of these services already, but then they couldn't get it or was limited.
That's in addition to the over 200 shelters and hotels that are stood up by the city of New York with some financial support from the state. But now, many of you are starting to see open space turn into enormous temporary shelters, buses arriving at hotels in several upstate counties. And undoubtedly, you have many questions.
So it's being alleged that the Adam administration sent some buses. They went to some other counties because there's just no more space in New York City if people want a bed to sleep. And the counties were not too happy. Maybe they called the governor. I don't know. This is what they're alleging. So counties are saying no, we don't have the space, to take these asylum seekers.
Why are they coming? Why New York City? Why are these large shelters being built? And will they move to communities throughout the entire state of New York? The bottom line is you're wondering, what does this mean for me and my community? And what are our government leaders doing to address it? Exactly 2 years ago today, I became your governor. I work every single day on your behalf to address the issues facing all of us. And that's why I'm speaking to you directly today, the people of New York, to give you the answers you deserve. These individuals are.
And that's important. All of this is going on. Many people are concerned. That's why we come to the source and come and find out what is going on, Governor. What is going on? So let's hear from the governor.
Are literally fleeing for their lives. Political strife, gang violence, extreme poverty, and persecution. They're coming to this country with the same goal that my once impoverished Irish grandparents did, just to build a better life for themselves and their families. And while my grandpa started work in this country as a migrant farm worker, he and millions of others who came before us lived the American dream that has beaconed people from across the globe. He was welcomed by the Statue of Liberty, but he lived that dream because he could work here in his adopted country. So to answer the question, people are coming here to seek asylum status here in the United States so they can be safe and ultimately work to support themselves. Why New York City? First of all, we know New York City has a long history, a proud history of embracing immigrants. In addition, in 1981, the city of New York and a coalition for the homeless signed an agreement that the city would provide shelter to anyone who seeks it. This is an agreement that does not apply to the state's other 57 counties, which is one of the reasons we cannot.
So it's also being alleged that the attorney who actually was part of that case said it does. So we'll come back with more on that. But since this video, the governor has given an executive order, which we'll get more information on if now the counties do have to accept the asylum seekers.
Not and will not force other parts of our state to shelter migrants, nor are we going to be asking these migrants to move to other parts of the state against their will. That said, I do believe we have a moral imperative to help these new arrivals. I'm grateful to the counties that have welcomed and supported the migrants, and we will continue to partner with them. But to level with New Yorkers, bearing much needed changes at the border, There does not appear to be a solution to this federal solution problem anytime soon. And that's exactly why I need to talk to you today. This crisis originated with the federal government, and it must be resolved through the federal government. The borders and decisions about who can work are solely determined by the federal government. And since July of 2022, in our first meeting with the president, Mayor Adams and I have championed the idea of a federal designation that would allow the individuals already here in New York the ability to work, to support themselves and their families. The mayor and I said then, and in countless meetings with Congress, the White House, cabinet members, at rallies with labor, press conferences, and working with business, what we've said all along is just let them work and help us out financially. That's why today I have sent a letter to President Biden formally requesting immediate executive action in 4 key areas. First, expedited work authorization so we can get these people out of shelters and into the jobs. Financial support for federal housing vouchers, schools, healthcare, legal services, case management, and shelter for us to provide to these asylum seekers. The use of more federal facilities to construct new temporary shelters, and reimbursement for the cost of our National Guard, which have been on the ground at these shelters throughout the
So she's asking for some money back. She wants a reimbursement. They've been using their National Guards.
state since last year. You can read my letter to the president at www.governor.ny.gov.
And we'll be going over that letter.
Not only will the ability to give them employment allow them to get through this crisis, it helps solve another crisis that we're experiencing in every corner of the state. I travel the state a lot. I've spoken to many on farms and businesses and hotel owners and restaurant owners and nursing home owners and hospital proprietors. They all tell me, Governor, what can you do about the shortage of workers? We have countless unfilled jobs that are begging for someone to just take them. So we need to do something. And here's what we can do.
Wait, if we have so much jobs, we got to get some of those jobs already to the people that there's a lot of people right now who already need jobs. We got to get some people. Yeah, where's those jobs? Could we have a job fair? Yeah, we need a job fair. Since there's so many jobs available, let's have a job fair. There was an MTA job fair the other day, and I know someone who went there to try to, apply, and it was just so many people that they had to cut off. So if there's a lot of jobs available, let's knock out a couple job fairs and get those jobs to the people who can't work from now.
New Yorkers from across the state, Democrats and Republicans, have asked me for help placing these migrants into jobs that have gone unfilled for too long. We are ready to act as soon as these migrants receive work authorization. But right now, because we've been waiting a very long time, the State Department of Labor will be launching a new program this September to immediately place asylum seekers in jobs just as soon as they're legally able to work. And we're going to go a step further. And I'm ordering the Department of Labor to proactively connect asylum seekers with potential employers in anticipation of them receiving the work authorization before they're already authorized. So let's just start focusing on that crisis as well. And today, our quest continues to squarely tell the White House.
Okay, so we got to find out how can non-migrants apply for some of these jobs. Because I know a couple people that need some jobs too. So if there's jobs available, Department of Labor, everyone, we gotta get those jobs out.
Let them work. Until that happens, we'll continue to need funding and sites from the federal government to help cover the massive expenses of sheltering tens of thousands of people in our country, in our state today. But also, ultimately, we need comprehensive immigration reform from Congress. And here's how New Yorkers can help. Contact your local member of Congress. If you're represented by a Republican, please ask them to stop politicizing people's lives, stop fighting President Biden's comprehensive, smart solutions, and work together towards solving this. If you're represented by a Democrat, ask them to support my plan for more engagement and direct support from the administration. New Yorkers, you know, at the end of the day, we will continue to be that beacon of hope and freedom from oppression that has drawn people here and made us so incredibly fascinating. We are a state that cherishes our diversity and our inclusiveness, and we always will. For me, the answer to these two crises, this humanitarian crisis and our workforce crisis, is so crystal clear and common sense. Let them get the work authorizations. Let them work legally. Let them work. I say, New Yorkers, thank you for listening. I promise to keep you engaged and involved. And as your governor, as I promised 2 years ago today, I will always protect the interests of all of you and your families. And I am confident that if the federal government steps up and does its part, we will see this crisis through. As New Yorkers, we've been through a lot together, and we will get through this together again. Thank you.
So there you have it. New York State Governor Kathy Hochul gave her press conference on what she did with the migrant crisis, how much money she has given, and she's looking for some reimbursement from the federal government and allowing the asylum seekers to work because that will take the burden off the city and the state on giving them the needs that they have. So that's it. Please make sure that you subscribe, like, and share. We have so much more to watch. Peace.